Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Common Sense Crypto channel. As with you always, this is Rich doing another video today on XRP. So I hope you're all having a wonderful day today, wherever you are in this great world. We're going to talk about XRP. And once again, this is the one-day chart. We're sitting here at $3.08. Earlier today, the Fed cut interest rates by 0.25 BPS. And people said that was already priced into the market. It doesn't look like it because you could see the volatility right here. So when the Fed was talking, XRP dipped below $3. Then it came back up and set a higher low. Then it moved up into the green, and now we're sitting at $3.08. The big question here is, are we going to continue upward? I think there's a good chance of that happening for XRP, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. But look at Bitcoin back above 116K as well. And again, everybody's thinking like the Fed cutting the rates wasn't that big of a deal. Everybody was hoping for 0.50 BPS. We got 0.25, but now he's expected to cut rates in October, November, and December as well. So it looks like the rest of this year could be very good for crypto. And we are not in alt season yet. This comes from CoinMarketCap, and you see the alt season index chart. We're at a 71. Once we go above 75, it will be officially alt season. We're just not quite there yet. Jerome Powell, October rate decision outlook. What to expect and how it will affect you. Like I said, they're expecting bigger rate cuts throughout the rest of this year. Some people are thinking another 25 basis points for next month. Other people are saying expect 50 next month. We really don't know until the Fed does it, but it is looking good that we're going to get continued rate cuts throughout the rest of 2025, and that's going to be great for crypto. That means more upward potential, higher price potential for XRP. And this goes live today. The Rex Osprey XRP ETF is set to launch today. So the big question here is, how much money is going to flow into that XRP ETF? How fast is it going to happen? And could that keep the upward momentum going? We have to wait and see. The next 24 to 48 hours should be very interesting for the price of XRP. I still think the market is going to go higher because of the rate cut. CME Group to launch XRP and Solana futures options on October 13th, 2025, pending approval. XRP leads with options on XRP and Micro XRP, and you see it right here on their website. And this is going to happen a week before the rest of those ETFs are set to get approved as well. I think October, what we're going to see is a lot of people getting positioned in XRP before these ETFs are announced that they go live. Right before they go live, everybody's going to want to be positioned. So steady upward movement between now and the end of October, that there's a good chance that's what we're going to see happen. Other people are saying there could possibly be a major dip and then all of a sudden a huge reversal going into the ETFs as well. It's too hard to call what's going to happen with this market right now because we've seen how it was so hard to call this market up until this point. Because every time something looked good, right away, some real world event would play out. Something would happen, setting us back once again. Let's see where we go from here. SEC approves generic ETF listing standards, clearing the path for digital asset listings without individual approval. So it looks like the SEC is making it even easier to get ETFs across the finish line. In other words, to get ETFs to go live. Why don't they get these ETFs that are already filed across the finish line? In other words, let them go live sooner than expected. I would love to see at least 2 or 3 more of these ETFs go live, because that would give us a good idea on how much money is going to flow into the other ETFs. I even think the Rex Osprey ETF could give us a good indicator of how much money is going to flow in. Bullish, mainstream, upside down Kramer signal. Could XRP be the next Bitcoin? This comes from NASDAQ. And should you invest $1,000 in XRP right now? It's not too late to get invested into XRP. Right now, you are still getting in before the institutional adoption really begins. Because for the first time in history, retail beat the institutions to something like XRP. And they're talking about, can XRP be the next Bitcoin? The first thing that has to happen in most people's minds is XRP needs to flip Bitcoin's market cap and become the #1 cryptocurrency. Now, if that was to happen, that would kill the entire belief system in Bitcoin. Right away, the smart money would shift. It would go into XRP. But beyond that, there's one thing that XRP has that Bitcoin just doesn't have, and that's utility. XRP is the real Bitcoin. Bitcoin was just the beta test coin, and it failed as a means of payments, means of transactions. XRP can handle transactions fast and cheap. That's the game changer. Plus, it offers on-demand liquidity. The whole narrative of scarcity being a use case is going to die when XRP flips Bitcoin's market cap. Eric Trump indirectly explaining our financial system is broken. Ripple rails plus XRP are the fix. So once again, Eric Trump is on the mainstream media news talking about how broken the banking system is. But he doesn't mention XRP. We all know as XRP holders that Bitcoin does not solve this problem. XRP solves this problem. Take a listen.
And we got into this new world because we needed to find a new solution for modern day finance. And you start realizing how antiquated the banks are, how broken they are, how slow they are, how costly they are.
What do you still need them for? You say you do need traditional banking.
So Becky, in time, I actually think that there's nothing on the blockchain that can't be done better, faster, more transparently. Why is it if Laura and I go out to get a mortgage on a home, it takes us 120 days? Why is it that every week, Becky, I'm waiting at 5 o'clock to send out a Swift wire transfer. And if I don't get it out by 5, or if I don't receive it by 5, congratulations, somebody doesn't get it until the following Monday night or Tuesday. Our financial system is broken. And then, by the way, our financial system literally taxed 50% of the people in this country, and now they're making up for it. Now they're kind of reversing course.
But what eventually you don't think you'll need traditional banking for any of that, but you do need it now for some of those things still?
Well, listen, you need payment rails, and I think stablecoin and a lot of other things is obviously picking up the slack. I think you're going to see that in a very, very big way. And I just think you're going to see modernized finance, which turns into 24/7. And
it's going to turn into 24/7 because that's what everybody wants. And when he talks about rails, Ripple already has the new rails in place all around the world. It's just that the system isn't fully complete yet. There's still some areas where people are unbanked. They're not going to go over to a new system until every single person on the planet has access to the new financial system. But they always talk about how there needs to be an upgrade, how everything needs to be fixed. And we already know the solution, which is RippleNet and XRP. But they always talk about XRP without saying XRP or Ripple. XRP to $1,000 reemerges after CNBC guest says Ripple's going after Swift. And that came from Pantera Capital founder Dan Moorhead. He talked about XRP replacing Swift. And right away, people cited Patrick Bet-David, who said that if Ripple was to replace Swift, we would be looking at $1,000 XRP. And right away, everybody's talking about $1,000 XRP again. I just did a video the other day showing you all the people that are talking about it. Uphold is even now putting out those posts again. You just woke up and XRP's $1,000. What's your next move? Or what are you doing when XRP reaches $1,000? They're quietly telling you or suggesting to you that this is where XRP is going. And Black Swan Capitalist put out a post talking about what it would take for XRP to get there. So for XRP to reach $100, it starts with big players quietly stacking. Banks, financial institutions, and investors have been building positions for years, quietly accumulating billions of XRP, while retail gets shaken out during orchestrated volatility swings. That naturally reduces circulating supply and triggers the first real supply shock. At the same time, XRP's adoption for cross-border settlements and liquidity transfers drives growing transactional demand. When you combine a tightening supply with increasing usage, the stage is set for XRP to hit the $100 mark. But moving from $100 to $1,000 requires widespread integration into the global financial system. Here, XRP shifts from being a retail speculative asset to a functional utility, essentially becoming digital collateral and preferred settlement mechanism for banks, stablecoins, and tokenized assets. As financial institutions use XRP to settle large-scale payments and manage liquidity, the velocity of transactions and the total value flowing through the network grows exponentially, meaning each unit of XRP now represents a larger portion of global financial activity, naturally driving its valuation towards $1,000. Reaching $10,000 is a function of XRP's full-scale utility and infinite scalability through its ability to absorb global liquidity. So he's showing you how you go from $100 to $1,000 to $10,000. I think $100 is coming in the short term. It could possibly happen over the coming months. I see a lot of chart guys now saying there's no way XRP doesn't make it to 3 digits with the ETF inflows. And we are on the verge of institutional adoption. David Schwartz put a timeline on it. He said 12 to 24 months, and that was like 8 months ago now, or 7 months ago. So we're very close to that happening. Then you start to look at mass retail adoption. What's Ripple trying to do? They're trying to become a bank, but at the same time, they're trying to get merchants to accept RLUSD. RLUSD is the door opener for XRP. So $1,000 per XRP most likely is going to happen sooner than later because it's already getting integrated. We are not far away from XRP going live on all those Ripple rails. XRP's price is expected to continue rising this year alongside Ripple's philanthropic efforts. So in other words, they're saying that Ripple is going to be doing more philanthropy as the price of XRP rises. And the price of XRP is already expected to rise throughout the rest of this year. I'm anticipating what's going to happen in 2026. I think right now we are at the stage where we're waiting for regulations coming out of Washington. ISO is going to take a few months to really gain traction when it comes to crypto being utilized alongside ISO messages. Then you start to look beyond that. The ETF inflows are still going to be happening going into 2026. So as long as we stay on the course we're on right now, institutional adoption should really rise throughout 2026 as well. That means we see this massive run up without major pullbacks happening. Then we eventually transition into a utility run. That's what I'm anticipating for XRP. Pundit explains why XRP to $50 by December 2025 is realistic. And I would agree with that. It depends on how much money flows into those ETFs, how fast it happens. But we are already going to see altcoins rising up because it's going to be alt season by then as well. We have ETF season combined with alt season. And I think $50 might be too conservative. Sistine Research says target for XRP is $33 to $50. Feels a bit conservative as we're following a very similar pattern as 2017, but much larger. If you're willing to measure as a cup and handle, targets could be as high as $77 to $100. And people are still saying that's conservative. We're even going higher than that. All I know is this: it is going to be very exciting as an XRP holder to watch what happens next. But again, today with the Rex Osprey ETF going live, that could give us our first indication on how big the inflows are going to be. I'm sure a lot of predictions for this year are going to change once we get the numbers from that ETF, because that will most likely give us, set the tone for the rest of these ETFs as well. But until it all happens, stay patient, stay positive, and let's get rich together. With that said, I'm going to wrap up this video. I want to thank you all for watching. I appreciate all of you. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great night.